Dude, I look like Vanilla Ice with this hair. So, I got tagged. Yes, that's right. I got tagged by Mr. Dude 206, and this is a video that basically is going to be a bunch of questions. Kind of like a Q&A a little bit, but it's basically answering a bunch of questions that a bunch of other people have answered, and Mr. Dude 206 was nice enough to tag me in this latest video, so I am going to answer his questions. So the first question, do you struggle buying games? If so, why? My general rule of thumb with buying games is I'm really cheap. However, it depends if the want for the product outweighs the price that I'm paying. In most cases, I usually pay retail, and actually I prefer to buy in stores. The problem is right now is every game that I want is... Sorry, my dog is loudly chewing on a bone. Knock it off. Oh boy. So the thing I struggle with is right now there's all the games that I want are really obscure or really they just don't come into game stores. Like, I want to pick up a copy of Ninja Crusaders, a copy of Worm, just stuff like that, like Monsters in My Pocket, you know, mostly like random NES or Super NES games, maybe some Saturn imports that I've been trying to get that are just insanely priced. So that's the stuff that I've been trying to look out for, and game stores in my area just, I mean, they have a lot of really cool stuff, but they're either wildly priced or they're priced at retail, which I don't want to pay retail in most cases. If it's a game that is like, you know, a $15 game and it's worth $15, I'll pay it. I'm not going to fight with eBay prices or whatever for stuff like that. You know, if I have a game that's like 20 bucks or 30 bucks or even 50 bucks, I'll buy it. Because if it's a couple dollars less than retail, if I can usually get it for a couple dollars less than retail, that means that I can get it cheaper than buying it on eBay. And that's traditionally what I look for, is not buying games on eBay, just because I don't want to pay shipping fees, which a lot of cases, some smart eBayers, which I do this when I sell on eBay, is I will knock a couple bucks off the price of the game itself, and then I'll offer free shipping. But anyways, as far as buying games, as Mr. Dude 206 was saying, bills always come first. So you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of who you are and everything. So I don't struggle in buying games in that sense because I never put games before bills. So all my bills are paid or are expected to be paid each month before I'll start dipping into like a personal savings or anything like that to buy games. Lately, I haven't bought really much of anything, and that's just because every time I go to the game store, there's just nothing there that I want, and it's getting to that point where I'm not going to be able to find the stuff that I want unless, like, just, you know, happenstance. I just happen to be at that location at that game store, and I come across like a Monster in My Pocket for NES, and just like, oh crap. So that's pretty much it as far as that answer to that question. Have I regretted trading in a game? No, not really. You know, I will say that there are a lot of games that were fairly low price that I've traded in multiple times. Like, I buy it and then I'm like, why is this in my collection? And then I get rid of it. And then like 8 months or a year later, I'll be like, wait, why did I get rid of this? And so there are a lot of games that are like that. There's some games that I don't like that I have in my collection, like Final Fantasy VIII. And I've bought it and sold it like 3-4 times. So finally one day I gave up and I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna keep this in my game collection. I've bought and sold it so many times, it's just absolutely not worth it. So there's stuff like that you know, I've bought and sold and bought and sold. So I guess in a way I could say that I regretted that. When I was younger, I would trade whole systems, which I think that was a big regret that I would have, is I would trade in, like, I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine who bought my childhood Super Nintendo, all my games, and I had, like, you know, probably 25 games or so. I've gotten them all back for the most part. I think I've gotten them all back. There was nothing really crazy obscure or pricey. Chrono Trigger was probably the most expensive game that I had out of my Super Nintendo games that I previously owned, and now I have that box and complete, so I'm not really that beaten up over that. But you know, when you're a kid, you know, I was in high school when I did that, and you don't know the worth of something that you're gonna have, and so you end up getting rid of it, and then you're like, why did it, like years later down the road, you're like, why did I do that? So, you know, I've been recollecting my collection since 2003. I started working at a game chain called Game Crazy, which was owned by Hollywood Video. And I got a bulk of my collection back and some really pricey titles. Like, I got Wild Guns for like $14. I've got Final Fantasy III in the box complete for $20. Like, those were the prices back then because just the games weren't worth anything. Nobody wanted them. Nobody wanted to own them. Like, so I kept a lot of that stuff with me, and over the years I've just been building the collection back up, and lately I just haven't had the money to buy games because it's just too expensive now. You know, so I've been mainly sticking with what I have, what I already own, and I really haven't been buying a lot of games. It's not that I don't want to buy games, it's more, how can I get this as cheap as possible and not have to worry about, you know, losing out on, you know, not having to sell a bunch of my collections. So I do occasionally still trade up for games, but now I only trade with other people for stuff that I really, really, really want. And when I get that, I'm much happier. Like in the previous What Did My Nintendo Get episode, where I showed off all my gets from the local event that we have here in Connecticut called Congo. And I got a bunch of really great stuff, and yeah, I traded in a copy of Team Buddies, which is one of the rarest NTSC North American PlayStation 1 games. And you know what? That game just sat on my shelf. Like, it wasn't going anywhere. Like, it was just sitting around and just was a waste of space. And I wasn't playing it, and I said, how could I put this to better use? And I said, you know what? I'm gonna trade it in for something better. Took the money, ended up buying that copy of Ninja Gaiden 3 in the box complete, and I'm so much happier now that I have that instead of having Team Buddies. Alright, so next question. If you could play a game, again, knowing nothing of it, like not knowing anything about it, what would it be? That's tough because I feel like older games, playing them, there's a certain balance of playing a game now and playing a game then. Like, I could remember for the longest time playing Mega Man 3, and you know, it's my favorite game ever, and just being able to learn the little nuanced things about the game and figuring out different patterns than what like Nintendo Power told you. Like, there's a certain level of nostalgia to these games that I wouldn't go back and play again in the sense that, like, if I could forget everything that I learned and like replay it, because I think now I wouldn't have the same appreciation for it, and I don't think I would want to do that to myself, because even though there's always going to be that nostalgia, I can still go back and play those games now and be like, you know, and have it be a fresh experience. And that's one of the great things about video games, is that every playthrough is going to be different. Every playthrough is going to be unique, and you may have a game memorized, you know, down to, you know, like a very like rhythmic pattern, but I think that every game is going to have its own unique playthrough, so it's like impossible to you know, to make that happen. But as far as like playing a game and like basically wiping your memory clean of it, I couldn't do any old games, just because playing old games versus playing new games nowadays, it's just so different. So as far as that goes, I would probably say, if I had to go back and play a game knowing nothing of it, I would probably say Metroid Prime. The reason for that is that game took me a really long time to play, And I mean, it took me almost 20 hours to beat that game. And with that said, I still think that it's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic entry in the series. But I think that if I went back, I would have a better understanding of the way that Metroid games work, you know, playing through the series. And if I was playing Metroid Prime again for the first time, brand new, I think I would have a better understanding of where to go, what to do, and like maybe a better way to like read the map or focus on where to go next. So I think my game playing skills have advanced on that level. That I think I'm a better map reader now than I was like when I was a kid, for example, I think. So with something like that, I mean, even though Metroid Prime came out in, what was it, like 2002? You know, I was in college then, and I didn't really have a lot of patience even then for certain games. I would say probably like Smash Brothers is probably it, Smash Brothers Melee. But I think I have more focus now in the sense that I would be able to sit down and really love playing through this game for the first time, like if it had just come out. So yeah, I guess that's the only thing I can think of for my answer. I don't really like this question, just for the record, just because it's not, it's kind of like, if you could wipe away your nostalgia, what would you do? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, there's a reason why everybody loves nostalgia so much, and you know, this is not it. All right, finally, last question. If you had to be buried with one console, what would it be? That's a good question. I would say Nintendo. Yeah, definitely Nintendo. It's no secret, Nintendo's my favorite console. You know, the original NES, the old school, you know, system. That's my favorite game system. That's even though I think I at this point have more games for my Super Nintendo, I would say Nintendo is probably my favorite still to this day. I just, you know, I love the sound. I love the ability to put the games in, then you gotta wiggle them around or whatever. And like I was actually, I had a couple friends over recently because I just celebrated my 32nd birthday. Oof, yeah, I'm an old man. And so I had some friends over, and I was trying to explain to my friend Scott how to, he kept getting like a blinking screen on the NES. We were gonna play some Mario 2. And I was trying to tell him, you know, once you put the game in, press it down, and then like wiggle it like back and forth or whatever, like move the cart back and forth after you power it on, and then hit reset, and you'll be able to, you know, the pin connectors are brand new, like relatively new, probably about a year old or two. And so I was trying to tell him, you know, like how to, you know, just in case, like, because they're too tight and they need to be loosened up a little bit, not like a crazy amount. And so this other friend of mine who was over is sitting there playing Monster Hunter on his 3DS, and he's just like, why do you bother? Like just emulate it. And I'm like, no, like there's just some things, there's certain things about video games that I just, you know, I think are really important, that we never forget the past when it comes to video games. And, you know, now everyone's big thing is, oh, just emulate it. Oh, just, you know, and in a lot of situations, it's very practical, like Little Samson, or like games that are like $600, $500 or whatever. And Nintendo games have gone up; they've shot up like tremendously. But I feel like with a game like, you know, Mario 2 or whatever, you know, or just like Mario 3 or Zelda or whatever you're playing on the NES, like, why emulate it? You know, if you don't have the money, or let's say there was ever a situation where I got robbed, or somebody got robbed, or you know, get your house broken into, or your house destroyed, or something like that. All your games get destroyed. You know, heaven forbid. But you know, if something like that ever happened, I probably would emulate. You know, I would rebuy the systems, and then I'd just get an EverDrive for each one, and I would just emulate, because you know, or at least for that time being, because, you know, you collected for various different systems for 10 years or more than 10 years at this point, and, you know, you've kind of built up a stock, you've built up this collection. And so for me to just dump everything and just be like, I'm just going to use emulators, like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like, why bother with emulators when you can have the real thing? Like, you could have the real experience just like you did when you were a kid, and, you know, have the real hardware. You never have to worry about it getting corrupted. You never have to worry about, oh, I gotta mess around with all this stuff. And that's kind of why I'm very hesitant on digital, on everything going digital, because if I have a physical product, I know that I can either get it replaced, I can get it fixed, or whatever the case may be. And I think that is important. Now, again, really crazy expensive games like Little Samson, you don't come across those games all the time. So with stuff like that, yeah, emulate it. But how did we get so far off track? I don't know. But basically, the point I'm trying to make is the NES is really special to me, and I would be buried with an NES and a copy of Mega Man 3, Castlevania 2, and Metroid. And I think that would be it. So, anyways, so the problem with these tag videos is that you have to find somebody that you want to tag. Well, Mr. Dude 206 tagged everybody that I would have tagged. So I'm gonna have to tag a couple people I'm gonna tag 4 people to do this response to this video. The first person is gonna be Cygnus Destroyer, my buddy Matt. So Matt Esro, I wanna hear your responses to these questions. So just do a quick video. If you guys don't know Matt, he is known as Cygnus Destroyer, LJN Defender. He's done he's doing this new series called like Innocent Till Proven Guilty, where he takes games that everybody hates and he basically is like, you know, is this game really that bad? Which, you know, I fully support. Like, that's a really cool idea for a series. So Matt's stuff is great. Go check him out. I'll post links down at the bottom for his page. But yeah, Matt Esro, want to hear your responses to this. Next is going to be Retro Liberty. I know you guys are crazy busy because you are always recording, and friggin' Aaron is like a editing goon, man. He's just like always editing. Dude, I don't know how he does it, but he puts out such amazing quality content for so long, and I feel like he just doesn't ever get a break. So I figured I'd tag him in this, like, just something simple, really easy, simple response for these videos. I want to hear your opinion on it. So if you want to throw Ricky in, love to hear his opinions too. So Aaron and Ricky from Retro Liberty, that is my second tag. My third tag is going to be for Jay Hicks. He is a member of Multitapped. He also has a show called Viridian Flashback, and I want to hear your responses as well. So he does a show, the show Viridian Flashback. It's basically like he reviews only Xbox One games, which is pretty cool. And not Xbox One like the new system. I'm talking about the classic Xbox, the original Xbox. And so he does some really cool reviews for that system, which I haven't really seen anybody tackle. So check him out too in the link below. Last one is going to be for the Cartridge Brothers. Now, if you haven't checked out their channel, these guys have, they do this thing where they talk about their personal experiences, their memories with classic games, you know, the like NES era and beyond. So these two guys do some really cool videos, and you should totally check them out. So Cartridge Brothers, same thing. I want to know what you guys think. So I will tag all of you, and I will post it on Twitter, so that way you know that you've been tagged. And then you are responsible for tagging 3 or more people for the video. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Also, if you haven't seen the new episode of Dude, You Haven't Played This Game, it's right here, so you should go check it out. And if you like that, then you should also check out the Pixel Tunes Radio Metroid episode, which will be right here, so you should check that out as well. And this is a weird way to end a video.